To SONA or not to SONA? That seems to be the big question at the moment. However, there are many other issues that are being raised over recent weeks, and particularly over the last week. And one is trade unions that define themselves as Marxist-Leninist. A couple of them have done so, and among them, of course, National Union of Metal Workers, NUMSA, the largest union in the country. And I think that they're treading on dangerous ground by so doing. It's ill-defined, quite apart from anything else. But such labels actually belong in the political arena, not in the labor movement. To call yourself Marxist-Leninist puts a political label on you which is divisive. Now, I raise this issue not because it's been raised in the past, but because NUMSA, over the past week, has gone a couple of steps further. They've talked about building the structures of a workers' party, which is a move away from what they've previously said, and that was to be a catalyst, a correct thing to stand apart from and give support to the formation of a workers' party. But they also gave the hint of a socialist model, and this they put as the Bolivarian revolution of the late Hugo Chavez. Now, to me, this smacks of using blind faith rather than rational analysis. It's not going to help anyone, let alone the labor movement, I think. Who was Chavez? Well, the economic freedom fighters have hailed him, and so have many others on the so-called left. He was an army officer who staged a failed coup because he stood up and said, I'm opposed to inequality. I want a better and fairer society. Very good. He probably did, and I think he probably did believe in that. He went to jail as a result, and therefore was seen as a martyr by those among the working class and among the poor. And of course, he therefore got elected when he came out of prison and stood for president. He got elected president in 1999. And support for him actually did grow. One has to concede this, because he introduced free education, he introduced clinics, he introduced cheap food, but all of it was imported because he was awash, or Venezuela was awash with petrodollars, Venezuela having one of the largest reserves of oil in the world. But of course, he launched a number of grandiose schemes as well, and these failed, faltered, fell apart once the oil price collapsed. And by that stage, the local agricultural industry had been all but destroyed. So the woes of Chavez, the woes of Venezuela, are as much self-inflicted as they are from any other quarter whatsoever. And I think we have to learn these lessons, look at these things much more clearly, use factual analysis as much as actually possible. Because if we don't, we end up in trouble. And we end up dividing, particularly within the labor movement, we end up dividing worker from worker on the basis of politics, religion, whatever. We had this in Europe, for example, with Christian democratic unions, communist-affiliated unions, social democratic, Labour Party affiliated unions. Or, for example, and this is the thing that is really worrying, those who refer to themselves as Marxist-Leninist, implies that conveyor belt system that existed in the former Soviet Union, where the unions were really part of a string that ran all the way through to a total authoritarian hierarchy, which was a grotesque caricature of anything that might be described as socialism. So I think this is what I'm going to concentrate on in my Inside Labour column, which you can access on this platform, Fin24, tomorrow, and a version of which will appear in the City Press business section on Sunday. I think this is an important area, just as important as the SONA or anything else that we're debating at the moment, because we have to decide which way forward. And I think democracy is what we have to define clearly. And those who wish to use terms like Marxist-Leninist, please define that as well. Anyhow, that's all from me for this week. But you can, of course, comment, as per usual, to editor@fin24.com. I look forward to that. And for this week, that's all from me. Cheers.